Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 491. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Sellner.
Hello.
Mark Augustiniak.
Hey.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games, brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. This week, Season 11, which I almost just called Season 12, continues with Papers, Please to kick off February 2023. We will jump into that shortly. First, I'd like to know, of course, as I always like to know, the answers to weird questions while the intro music plays. Matt, what menial job would you like to sit and do indefinitely?
Well, I'm trying to think of a game that's been simulated that I liked besides this one. I'm struggling. I don't have a good answer for you. My gut says to be like a 7-Eleven clerk, but that's only because of Job Simulator.
That would be fun. Besides the risk of children stealing things from the store,
right?
Which is what I assume is, yeah. Mark?
I want to work at a bingo hall and just read the numbers.
That would be great.
But mess up intentionally.
Yeah, and catch Ethel cheating and put her in a spotlight. Like, look, this is 2 times now. I forgive you 1, but once you get to 3, we got a pattern here. And that's
we
got
to take your socks at that point.
Yeah.
Give them cold feet. Those are both very good answers. I also went to just making burgers, like a line cook kind of deal. Just I remember being 14 and doing that and just putting very perfectly assembled all of that. Just kind of like follow the instructions, but like it was never in volumes enough where it was satisfying because the orders are different. I need the exact same. That would be.
Yeah.
I don't know how long I could do it for. I'd probably lose my mind. I feel like that or data entry. If I just had to take things from a body of cells and put them into another body of cells just over and over, that could be...
Yeah, I wouldn't mind keeping track of, like, stock. Like, just, like, counting. Going to back and just counting things. And then I fuck up, like, halfway through and I gotta start over from the beginning because I don't know how far back I messed up.
Oh, yeah, but so what? Because it's all worth it, baby. Count them down.
I actually did enjoy. So I did stuff similar to that for a bit. Actually one of my favorite parts of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to do orders for a grocery store, so that was always fun. Like looking at what was on hand, looking at what was projected to sell, all of that. Yeah. The old over/under. Are we gonna do it? Or are we gonna not? That was good times. But today we are talking about operating the border between 2, or I guess multiple countries, but operating the border in a fake country in Papers, Please, developed by Lucas Pope through Lucas Pope's development and publishing company 3909 LLC. It was also self-published by Lucas Pope and 3909 LLC. Released first on PC with an iPad release, a Vita release, and then now, almost 10 years after its initial release, it saw a modernized mobile port for iOS, iPadOS, and Android that have native touch controls built into it, etc. Its original release on PC was August 8th, 2013, so the game will be celebrating its 10th anniversary later this year. If you had a back of the box to read, it would read something like this. The communist state of Arstotzka has just ended a 6-year war with neighboring Kalekia and reclaimed its rightful half of the border town, Grestin. Your job as immigration inspector is to control the flow of people entering the Arstotzkan side of Grestin from Kalekia. Among the throngs of immigrants and visitors looking for work are hidden smugglers, spies, and terrorists. Using only the documents provided by travelers in the Ministry of Admissions, Primitive Inspect this might be copy pasted wrong. And the Ministry of Admissions primitive, inspect, search, and fingerprint systems. You must decide who can enter Arstotzka and who will be turned away or arrested. Sorry, the syntax was weird on that one. From me, not from it. It did a great job. I did a poor job on that. Anyway, that's that. You are a border control or border inspector tasked with checking everyone's papers as they enter. And you have to do it all very manually. And every day the rules change. And every day you're reminded of the other things in life that come about. I guess we'll dive in a little bit there in a second. I have a couple of questions to get us started. The first question is, why was this game chosen? And I'm asking myself because I chose the game. Season 11, I set out to... I don't know. I feel like we're going to see over the course of the year, the 10 games that I chose were all kind of complementary to one another in some way or another. But the thing that stood out to me about Papers, Please in my list of games and my reason for choosing is that I felt like the game itself did a really great job of making you actually transcend the game itself, like transcend the gameplay experience, and you become a border inspector. Like you are, immigration inspector. You are no longer a player in this game. You are the person because you're the one making the choices. You're the one who's having to follow the rules. You're the one who's turning and manipulating all of the items on the screen. You become the thing. And I found that was a really fascinating way to play a game, but also from a design perspective, to design a game from top to bottom. And it becomes more of a psychological thing than it is just a video game. And I picked it for that reason. Coincidentally, it is turning 10 this year, so I thought that was nice to have kind of a nice anniversary game. And to be honest, I think I've said this before last month maybe, but I tried to choose games from a variety of platforms this season. So we had a good spread of different, I tried to make sure that my primary platform for the game I chose was different per every title I added to the list. I don't think I quite hit that goal. And in this case, and in a lot of the cases, they're all just PC games at the end of the day because you can just play them on whatever. But I did pick this one because my first exposure to it was playing on Vita. And I coincidentally put this on the list prior to learning of the mobile port that came out last summer. So then I learned about it. I ended up playing it on iPhone this time around. Wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but here we are. When did you first play this game, Mark?
The other week.
Really?
I might have tried a couple years back, but I don't remember much of it to confidently say so. So yeah, definitely the most time I put into it was for this.
Matt, what about you?
I don't remember what side of the college year it was. If it was late 2013 or early 2014, but yeah, that's when I got my first exposure playing the game on a Mac.
And I assume you'd both agree, but correct me if I'm putting words in your mouth. Mouse and keyboard, or at least mouse input, is the way to go for this one, would you say?
Yes. I don't think... I can't remember if I used the mouse or the trackpad off my laptop, but yes.
But yeah, I mean, that kind of input. Maybe if I'd tried it on iPad with touch control, it might have been a bit easier. The phone was very tight to move things around. I really appreciate that everything was on one screen, but I have a 12 mini, so it was very much like crammed in that screen real estate. And there are no cloud saves, so I couldn't just like transfer to iPad. And by the time I'd like gotten ready to make that move, I was halfway through the game's in-game month, which, yeah, a little bit too far to restart, but it worked, I think. I mean, I kind of opened with it with the reason why I chose the game, and it's really that it kind of does more than just ask you to play it. You kind of have to become it, and that was my kind of resounding takeaway of the game. But what was your kind of overall first impression, Matt, as you kind of got going through, the daily routine of this life? What was your reaction? How did you?
I think you kind of hit it a little bit. I think what makes this game stand out is its gameplay for it being a day-to-day working simulator, essentially. It has the story unfold much like bullshit happens at your work. Like something happens, company reacts, you get fallout from it. And the game did that so effectively here with, it just so happened, it's on a very much bigger scale because of these fictional nations feuding or disease or, whatever it is. Your reactive terrorist organizations. It was kind of funny to see how the story plays out through the gameplay of just like, who you let in, who you don't let in, those types of things. And then it plays with your emotions a little bit as well. There's some people that clearly shouldn't be in, but like the person before you says, "Oh, my wife, please let my wife through. She doesn't have the proper paperwork, but help us out." And it's, like, do you do your job? Do you not? Like, and it's kind of maybe not on that extreme of a scale, but I think you face those types of decisions on a much smaller scale, throughout your days of the week. And I think kind of parody, with the game and that. That's it incredibly interesting.
The other element that I didn't really specify yet, yes, you're an immigration inspector checking documents to make sure that people have the proper documentation to cross through. Yes, period, yes. The other element of the game is that daily wrap-up where it tells you who lives with you and their current conditions. And their current conditions vary between whether or not you're heating their living space, whether or not they are sick, and whether or not they are fed. And depending on any of those, it's going to cost you more to keep those people alive. And when I say those people, I mean your wife, your son, your mother-in-law, your uncle at some point. The game will add and remove family members as you continue on. And that's the part that makes Matt's example that much more difficult of a choice to make, because I remembered, and Matt, you played this way back when, so you tell me if you've changed. I noticed that I changed in the last decade playing this, because when I first played it, I did let the wife through. I was like, please, yes, I will break the rule for you. I would want someone to break the rule for me in that scenario. Now, 10 years later, in my 30s, I looked at that scenario, and I knew the night before that, like, I forget at this point which person, but like, wife was sick. I'd already screwed up twice that day. So by the time that guy came through and said, my wife's right behind me, please let her through, I'd already screwed things up. And in the game, you're allowed 2 penalties, or rather 2 mistakes without financial penalty. If I had let this woman through, that would have been my 3rd mistake, and it would have cost me $5.
5 credits.
And those 5 credits are, that's food, or that's heat, or that's medicine. And when you've already got stuff going on at home, I couldn't let her through. So, I don't think I detained her. I don't think that happened, because you can detain people at a certain point in the game. But, that's the really interesting element. Mark, what about you? What was your, like, as you started to get into, I'd say like the first 10 days, you start to really like sink into this character. How did you react to the game?
Kind of lukewarm. Sad to say. It's weird. I'm conflicted with this. Like, I know it's a good game. There's a lot to like about it, but I didn't enjoy my experience as much as I had hoped for. And but that world, I like that. I like the setup. I like, I guess, the setting more or less, but I don't know, just something about I guess the gameplay is a little too real to enjoy. It's like, so that kind of messed with me. So at least I was able to focus on like, I guess like the deeper narrative, depending on who like the characters that you're facing. So I think that was the redeeming factor. Yeah, I don't know. You definitely conflicted more than anything. I as it went on, I couldn't fully understand some of the mechanics too, which I feel are easy and simple to grasp. But for some reason, at that point in time, it just didn't click with me.
Well, I think it's by design, but I think it's also like, it's not just because the mechanics are simple. You're not wrong. Like it's pretty straightforward. You look at this passport and make sure it's a valid passport based on one of these issuing cities. Make sure it doesn't have an expiration date that's in the past. Make sure that the person's weight while they're standing on the scale matches the weight that's on their identity card. Like, by and by, every rule set in the game is easy to follow. The problem is time. The game has an internal clock per day that runs it's faster than real time, like a matter of an 8-hour workday or whatever hour workday it is passes by in about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. I don't know. I wasn't good at keeping track of that, but you have a finite amount of time.
It really fluctuates. It's definitely a lot faster in the beginning. Once they really start hammering you with all kinds of shit, they get longer.
And that's the thing. It's like you have that kind of pressure of you need to see as many people through the border as possible, because for everyone you let through, that's another $5 to your salary. And there's also the pressure of like, I don't know, just like doing everything right, learning the rules. You also like, time doesn't start until you open the border for the day. So you do have time at the beginning of each in-game day to really soak in the rules, if there's been any changes, if there's been a new procedure that's been added or put onto your desk. But it's still just kind of, you feel that pressure to like get going and you see the line outside. Like it's time to get things moving.
Dude, and it's so real too. Like every day we're in-game day, did you not have a ritual before starting your day? Like, all right, I'm here. Let's read the new rules. Okay, let's put the rule book here. Let's put this over here. Let's get this here. All right, and then when I get the documents, how am I going to do this? And you kind of take a deep breath, and then you hit the speaker, and then muffled
papers. Yeah, I would. Yes, the deep breath was very real. Pinning the images of fugitives, today's fugitives on the wall, so I could quickly compare who was in front of me to who was most wanted, was important.
You could pin that on the wall? I never knew that. I always kind of had it like half hanging onto the desk. Shit.
That might have been a mobile thing. Because of the way you really don't have a lot of real estate, so maybe that was an addition there. But yeah, you couldn't that, which that was nice day over day. So to that effect, or to that end, rather, Mark, I don't think that feeling is at all wrong. I think the game forces you to feel
probably the intent.
That pressure, because it is, if you're trying to kind of play through, there's a couple different ways you can do it. I mean, Matt pointed out the fact that you can bend the laws a little bit, but you're actually encouraged to at certain points by certain characters, because you do have this kind of weird civil war going on, or this kind of these things happening in neighboring countries. So there's a political element to it where you have leadership of your country that are pushing down on all of the officers and whatnot to apply pressure to you. All of that stuff is very real, and like you can feel the weight of those consequences. Quite literally, if you make the wrong choice on a certain day, you are arrested and game is over, or whatever. But I think all of the like I don't even know what to call it, the like underground revolution, what were they called in the game, the eye or something?
Easy IC, right?
Easy, yeah, I think. Yes. but as you start getting those people coming through, they're like kind of like I don't know, like I remember studying Russian history in college and learning about like people who would distribute like tapes in the Soviet Union. They had these like Tamizdat like tapes or whatever, where it was like to get the message out, they would record songs and stuff and then pass the songs along underground to other people. And like all these little like things that were happening, like you're seeing that happen in this game, which all of the countries and all of the places in this game are made up, but it still like kind of pulls into that Eastern European, geographical, whatever. And that stuff becomes attractive. Did either of you bite into any of that? The kind of resistance group looking to take down the government.
So I actually never had seen like the end of the month until my most recent playthrough in preparation for this. But I always fell victim to the first bribe, and then I will hang on to it. Always be my down. Like when I started to revisit the game at various times, because played it back then, and I'm coming back to it later on iPad. I think I probably played it one more time on PC before this last run recently, but yeah, I think I always fell victim for the first bribe and always forgot that if you don't throw it out, you're arrested. Or you gotta burn it, I think it is.
Oh, is that what happens? Yeah, I know I skipped it this time, but I didn't know that you were arrested for it.
Yeah, I ended up going, so there's like, it's kind of like Nier in a way. There's 20 different endings.
Oh, wow.
Most of them come early, much like Nier Automata, where you do goofy things and, it happens. Unlike Nier Automata, though, it doesn't necessarily put you right back out in front of, your death. Yeah, there's like 3 main endings towards the end of the game, and one skews towards Isaac, the other's more like your job, being strict on your job. There's like another one, about like I think it's escaping or something like that. I think it straddles the line a little bit. But I went like full easy IC this run, and it was fun to like get the messages, to look for these people, and then over the course of a few days just try to remember those names, because you can't keep the puzzle, right? Like you get these puzzle, like these people come up to the stand and are like, quickly look at this, and they give you like this sheet with all these characters and stuff on it, and then like you have to line up. Yeah, you have to line up this piece of paper over top this overlay that lines up to these squares, and it tells you the names of these people coming in. And it happens a couple times throughout the game, but it gets stressful because they don't come that day. You like have to remember over the course of the next 5 days, and it's not as easy just like, oh well, they're going to show up. Just remember the name. When you see 40 names over the course of this 5 days and you're rushing, and sometimes you forget to even look at the name. I mean, honestly, it's a little crazy. I had to use a little bit of a guide to kind of pick up on days this time around to make sure I got the ending, just to see it all the way through for once. But yeah, like that gets... It gets intense. That in-game timer, very stressful. We talk about games being not stressful from time to time. I think Pikmin 3 was our example of a game that should be stressful, but isn't stressful, but kind of is. This is the exact opposite. This is very stressful from the time you click that first goddamn horn until you hear that last bell, and you hope to pray, God, you had like 50 credits to pay for the heat.
Yeah, I think especially I never felt confident in myself. There were some times when I'd send somebody through and I'm like, I know I'm good. But I feel like I also, anytime I checked something thoroughly and I had that gut feeling like I missed something.
Yes.
As soon as I let them through, the printout would hit and you're like, violation. It's like, oh my God. And it's always the thing you didn't check, but you thought you checked.
The worst is like when you got in a roll. This happened to me a couple times, especially like, I don't know. The rules, I think, between like days like 10 to 20 don't change terribly. Like the documents remain the same. It's just minor things. So you kind of get in the rhythm of like, all right, I'm going to check this document to this document, put this one to the side, then this one, and then this one. So you kind of get in that rhythm. And by like day maybe like the 6th day of that or whatever, you kind of get this confidence. And as soon as you get that confidence, that's when the and then before you know, you're getting penalized like 10 credits per person because you're really fucking up now. And like you get all that clock's still going. You're getting all kind of, you just lost all sense of confidence. You're getting stressed out even more because you just know that's not, now you can't pay for heat this time around. Hopefully you have enough money for food this time around. You're like trying to remember how much is in your savings in the middle of this goddamn day, but you have 3 hours of in-game time left to maybe make up 15 credits. It's a lot. And I will say this too. The first time I played it was actually with a buddy of mine from college, Nick, who I've mentioned a couple times over the course of the years of this podcast. Me and him played it cooperatively. And we had a plan of like, all right, you look for this, I look for this, to try to divvy up the work. It still was hard as balls.
Yeah,
we still missed stuff. And we would like even say it out loud, like age, expiration date is good, weight is good, And then like the one thing we wouldn't yell out loud would be the thing we get hit on every single time. And it is a tough
and it's brutal because you're like, oh my god, I can't believe I didn't check their height. Their height of all things. So then you check everybody's height for the next 3 days and it never happens. And you're like, so frustrating. Mark, did you follow Ezek? Did you follow a specific path? Did you see an ending this time around?
I saw an ending, but it was like 10 days in.
Uh-oh. What did you do?
Just like you were saying earlier, just I thought I was thorough and turns out I wasn't. And then I think at that point I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna let everybody in. So I just, even if like I didn't care, I didn't care about I didn't care about my country. So I just I just let everyone in, and then everyone got sick and died, and then I reloaded it, and then the one guy who came in with the fake passport, who kept slowly getting better with his stuff. I was like, you know what? You can just come in.
Oh, Jorge, right? Or Georgie, yes.
I'm glad we got to Georgie.
What a guy.
Okay.
I know there's more to that character than what I experienced. I don't know what it is. So if you feel free if you want to talk about it, but I don't care. But I could get the feeling that he's a charming character, or there's something about him. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let you in just for the achievement, and got a coin from it.
My ending that I worked, I got a couple false endings that I'll call false endings because I just made the wrong call or like whatever. But the ending because I wanted to see what happens if I could make it to the final day. And if you do, you can escape the country. It kind of gets to a point where like things are getting pretty bad. And, the last few days of work, you're like, it's very strict. There's all sorts of things. But leading up to it, like in the final week, you're started to ask if any actual citizens of the country pass through, that you confiscate their passports. But Georgie is a pivotal character. So by the end, he's the one that actually helps give you fake passports to sneak into another country. I think Kalekia at the end is where you end up. But he's fascinating because he almost is the game's way of testing out new mechanics you learn. Like, I remember one of the first times that I was able to do the body inspection was with Georgie, where he walks through, and I think like he kind of has almost everything he
has
needs.
it. No, he's good.
Yeah. But then his weight's off. Right. And you're like, Georgie, come on, buddy. Your weight's, whatever. And at that point, he's very friendly. He's always friendly with you and playful and light. But I remember I'm like, what are you doing? And then like you do the body scan, you look at him, you turn him around, he's got something taped to the back of his leg, and he's like, you're right, I was smuggling in drugs, I was going to sell them to people, but you caught me. Drugs are bad. And then you're like, the detain button comes up so you can arrest him because he's trying to smuggle drugs into the country. He's like, go ahead, I'm good. It's all, don't worry about it. I was bringing drugs.
He's like, I know these guys. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And like, so he's like looking forward to getting arrested. And like, he just keeps doing stuff like that until suddenly he's got everything he needs. And he's not breaking any laws. But then he helps you in the end, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I loved the growth of him from being a literal chicken scratch, hand-drawn.
I mean, he literally shows up with nothing the first time.
He's like, "Stop, let me through."
He's like, "I'm ready to go through." Arsaska is open again.
And that's what I did. Like, when I reloaded it, ran into him, and I was like, "You know what? Fuck it."
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah, he's great. So when everybody died, Mark, did it just say like everyone's dead, or did you die alone, or what happens in that?
I forget. I think everyone just ended up dying. It wasn't like, it didn't feel like an impactful moment when I got the game over. It felt like it just shouldn't have happened. It didn't feel like an ending. It was just like yeah, you screwed up. Try again.
Yeah, that's how the one when I got arrested felt. It was just like, you shouldn't have done that. We caught you. Now we were putting you away. Yeah, there were a couple. I think I had 2 bad endings before I got the one I was working towards. Yeah, I don't know. Overall, I really like this game. I really liked being able to play through it from beginning to end for the first time, because I don't think I ever quite finished it back on Vita way long ago. But yeah, I like the way that it stacks its narrative with its gameplay. I like the way that it keeps stacking stressful techniques. It never feels quite good, but I also love the, like, as clerical as it is, there's like heart in the design, and there's like a sense of comfort. Like hearing those sound effects every day, like it just, I don't know, again, it puts you in that sense of like just working, but you know, it has that just kind of like hearing the sound of the ticket violation, like just, it hurts so much. Like it hurts physically when you hear it go off. But then like little sound effects, like the start of the day, like every time that little like music chime kicks in, where it's just like the march to work and whatever, like it's, you know, it goes along with Matt's deep breath. Like it just gets you in a certain headspace to be ready. This terror of the alarm going off as someone jumps the border, or, you know, some attack happens, because that happens quite often in the game. You have a lot of days in the game that get ended early because someone, you know, opens fire on the border. Yeah, I don't know. Overall, I really liked it. I liked meeting the different characters. Did either of you find any of the other, I know like we had the Underground Society, for lack of a better term, but Ezek, we had that ending, we had the escape ending. I think there's an ending, or I guess it's the Ezek ending where you take down the government. Is that the idea?
Yeah, pretty much. So much like Georgie's passport manipulation. If you do it enough, like if you get all the key members in from Ezek, you are then given an opportunity to confiscate like head honcho from a spot, take his passport, and then the next person behind him is the one assuming his identity. You give him passport, you check him through, and then I forget what happened. I'm forgetting all the details of it specifically, but you end up being like not, I don't think like top dog in the organization, but you become like one of the leaders all of a sudden. And like, you know, family and all that ends up being safe or whatever. Yeah, it's interesting. One thing I'll also say about using a guide, like a guide is not a get out of jail free card either in this game. There are set NPCs that show up per day. Usually, I think some days have like no scripted events, but after that, it is randomly generated things. It can be good, it can be bad. There's no like, all right, person 1 is good, person 2 is not good, person 3 and 4. There's none of that. So you still have to perform a little bit to get to the end game.
Because there was one day I tried to do the Ezek thing, and it, like, no one came through that day. Like, I knew that, like, the day that I was given the card, it was like no one came through. So the next day I was like, they got to come through today. And I looked at everybody, and I think that I just was too slow and didn't actually get the person. Like, I didn't get as many people through as I needed or something.
They come in various days. Like I said, you're given like 3 names. I actually have the ending guide up here because I figure we might talk about it. There are, the Ezek task. Yeah, someone comes through on day 11, someone comes through on day 14, and someone comes through on day 17. It's very spread out, and I think you only see those names that one time. And then, yeah, on day you're told to do something else on day 20, and then on day 27 is when you do the passport flip, and that kind of gets you into the end game from there. But yeah, like you're told, I think you're like told on like day 10, like, hey, these are the names, and then you don't see those people for a while. You start questioning like, did these people come through or not?
Yeah, there's a couple of things like that. Like I also had it was like someone who came through that was an engineer that was looking to hire engineers, so he gave me his business cards. And because you'll start to get people who are coming into the country for work, and they have to give you a work permit that tells you their occupation. It's another one of the many rules that gets stacked and stacked. But I did it. I gave out all of his business cards successfully, and it paid off. Like I got a good chunk of money from him. And there were a couple opportunities like that where you could make money on the side that didn't feel to me as like a super law breaking, like there were some where it was like straight up, here's a bribe. Or people that were, for one reason or another, bribing you, right? But those always, like, obviously feel like this is wrong. Where some of the ones where it was like, hey, if you help me out and find me people to come work for me, I'll thank you or whatever. There was somebody who was just like, here's a bunch of money and a pennant. I play for the soccer team. Hang up my pennant, and I didn't hang up the pennant because I didn't want it. I didn't want anything to do with it. And he ended up coming back through later on and was like, can I get that back? I got in big trouble for leaving that here, and I gave it to him, and then he gave me a bunch of money for giving it back to him. So,
I hung up the pen and kicked him out.
I think I held on to it and then still got rid of him, detained him, or I don't know what happened. But yeah, like he then comes through later, and if it's hung on the wall, you can't give it back to him.
So you can. So I had it hung on the wall. I took it down that one day where I got in trouble, and I said "fuck the government" and put it back. Put it back up. I think when he takes it down, he's like, "Oh, this is all torn up, or what? It looks all like raggedy or torn up." So I don't think you get paid. I don't remember getting paid.
I thought
but he still takes it.
I could be misremembering multiple things at this point, but I felt like it was him. I took the pennant down, gave it to him, and then got money. But, yeah, overall though, like it definitely gets in your head. It definitely is a stress simulator to an extent, but I liked it. I liked playing it. I had a good time kind of seeing this story through. What is your lasting impression of the game, Mark?
First thing that comes to mind that it's work. It's literal work, and not my kind of game, but I can respect the game. I know there are other types of games that can also be job related, and they can be as equally enjoyable to some people. Like I know, recent example, I know Power Wash Simulator was a thing that a lot of people enjoy. Hey, that's work. Like that's all that game is, but that could be therapeutic. I think this just got to me at a bad time as well. I think it was just a bad combination for me personally. But yeah, like usually you come to play games to escape the realities of work, and it was just more work. So, but hey, but I can see in the design of that there should be credit there where credit's due, and the respect to that, because to simulate that type of stress, I think is a feat in itself. I think that is very good design, very good art direction, from everyone involved in making this game. I think they did a good job with doing so much on just one little screen, and that's it. Like that's besides like checking what you're spending on to survive the next day. Everything's just that one screen, and so much happens in that one screen.
Honestly, that's Mark, impressive. It's more like half the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I definitely respect it. It just didn't gel the way I'd hoped.
Yeah, there's certain games like that just you know it's good, you know it's a good game. It's just not for me, not right now.
Right, and who knows? Like, I do this with a couple games. They just get me like that, where it's like not at first, but maybe down the line I'll have a new appreciation or something, or I'll do better.
I'd almost last month my pick was Hypnospace Outlaw, which was I forget what year, 2019 I think, our winner for the Out of Time Award, aka the video game we wished we would have played but didn't. I almost, instead of Papers, Please, put The Return of the Obra Dinn, which is Lucas Pope's other game, and was maybe not. I don't think it ever won our Out of Time Award, but it was definitely nominated for it because I don't think any of us played it the year it came out, and I still haven't played Obra Dinn, and I'd like to at some point. All right, well, we've always got season 12, I suppose. Yeah, Matt, when you think of the where Papers, Please leaves its mark, what resonates with you?
I think the game is really good. It's that, it's what I said earlier, where that gameplay feeds into the story, feeds into everything else, but it all starts at that document station and that inspection station, and everything else just kind of naturally unfolds from there. And like I said, you don't see that a lot in video games, where just the simple gameplay has so much ripple effect to the rest of the game, including maybe not as visuals in this one, but visuals, sounds, story, gameplay loop, event, what the events that happen in the game, all that comes from the gameplay. But I'm one of the reasons why I think I remember this game so fondly, though, is because of that co-op night, and that's something that was so much fun the first time I really played this game. And doing it with a friend was really good. And I don't know if it was part. I can tell you for sure that my friend was over to play some Last of Us multiplayer, in the same room on different TVs. So we were already kind of heartless going in and cutthroat. So I think that just kind of added to the effect of we gotta survive, man. This is every man for themselves. So kind of living that in multiplayer with the camp stuff, which doesn't, I've talked about that multiplayer at length, and then coming here to have to try to take care of your family and get money for that. It was a weird and stressful night, but it was really fun. And I think a little bit of that nostalgia comes into why I think this game's so good, though.
I like that.
Yeah. I think it's not uncommon today for games to feel like a second job, but for one to actually kind of become your daily routine. I played this game a few weeks back, and I got into a really regular routine of, this was usually the thing I'd play not in bed before falling asleep, but if we were hanging out with some nonsense on in the background, or the kind of 30 minutes in between dinner and watching a movie or something, I would do this. So it did kind of become going to work for me every day by playing Papers, Please. And I'd knock out a day or two in a sitting, but I did it at this kind of regular interval. I don't think I ever played this in the morning. I always played this 7:30 at night or something. And it just kind of became this routine of I'm going to Papers, Please. And it just kept going. And it weighs on you. You can't do too much in a sitting, because it's there's too many rules to follow. And then all the rules you think you memorize the next day, they change. Or there's a new 15
document
rules. Yeah.
Or super late game, you finally get used to sifting through the 3 or 4 documents, and then you decide to put it all in one document, and it sounds like a huge advantage to you, but it's the biggest inconvenience because you don't remember where everything's at now. It totally mixes up everything.
Or you could forget how to mark the discrepancy.
Yes. Yeah. Then that just slows you down. Wait, how do I say that the weight's wrong, or how do I say that their haircut looks different?
I'm glad you brought that up because I almost forgot to say. So I played PC again this time around, but it's probably the first time I had a 2-monitor setup since playing this game. I cheated. I went to I think the wiki has some like quick reference guides for me to see that entire book in one little PDF page, and I think I shared it with you all on our Discord. But oh my god, like without that, I don't think I could get to day 30. You know, confidently. There's also like once you kind of figure out its rules a little bit, like once you kind of figure out that you get 2 citations, if you end the day with 1 citation, you're coming in, you're seeing that like you could maybe squeeze 2 if you take a risk on this one being good. You just quickly stamp them and get to that next person and just take your time on that last person. You can bend the rules a little bit. Also, like you don't have to feed and heat your family every day. If you just do it every other day, that works too. So you only have to pay for it half the time, and that helps with your savings for that rainy day.
I had those moments though where, so for the record, I believe my mother-in-law died pretty early on, and then my son died by day 15. So by the end of it, I escaped the country with my wife and my niece. But like uncle had died, mother-in-law had died, son had died. Everyone was basically dead. And you kind of, there are those moments where like, yeah, you can bend the rules, but like just those little mistakes end up costing you so much, where if you bend the rules too far, like it works against you. I don't know my point of going there, but yeah.
You can't bend them too far. Like, yeah, if you kind of get into a rhythm, but one day and it knocks you off the rhythm, and then you're fucked.
That's what I was coming back around to, the like memorizing some of the stuff. Like you can upgrade certain elements to make the gameplay easier. Like you get the opportunity to like unlock bookmarks in the book, so you can quickly navigate through that rules book, which I did at some point. But then it's like someone dies, and you're like, well, crap! At what cost did I upgrade this book? Because now did I spend money on this where I should have spent it on more medicine, or you know.
Buying the keyboard shortcuts on PC for your stuff is one of the dumbest but best mechanics ever, because it's like, oh my god, do I spend 20 credits to make spacebar the detain, like the discrepancy mode, or do I make tab the stamp come out instead of having to scroll over, or, you know, move over and click? Like, there's so many dumb little things that save a couple seconds. It's like, is it worth the $20? Will that investment?
It would have
been
worth it.
Yeah. It's clever. It's a clever game. It's, you know, for all its stress. Did anyone try endless mode? I did not. I was just curious about the psychology going into that, knowing you have all the time in the world.
Yeah, I didn't try it, but that seems like an interesting.
It
might be fun. Like. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, because it almost flips the whole psychology of the game in a way. Like, we're talking about being cramped for time, but then endless mode is just a matter of 3 strikes you're out. I think you can take your time with it. Yeah. So I was just curious how that may change the psychology of that, but I never played. I forgot to go back to it.
Well, I haven't deleted it from my phone, even though I beat it like a month ago or whatever. But I feel like I don't think I'll remove that from my phone for a bit. So between that and Pocket Card Jockey, you know, I could play around with some endless mode and have a good time. TheFreeCheese.com/thelist is where you, listener, can go to look at the list of video games we've ranked over Season 10 and continue to rank in Season 11. And now we're going to rank Papers, Please amongst the other 48 games so far. If you like lists, you can also check out thefreecheese.com, last week's episode 490, where we ranked consoles, at least 10 of them so far in our first console ranking episode, because why not make another list? So go check that out too, if you want to hear more about consoles than just the games themselves. Where do you guys feel on this one? Mark, I know that you were a little lower than Matt and I in terms of your reception, but seems like you hold this game in pretty high esteem. Where do you visualize it?
Yeah, it's interesting to like separate myself from the game. Like I know I'm like quick to react to things most of the time. So I'm trying to like get past that. So I am feeling somewhere in the 20s.
I was a little bit higher. Matt, where were you at?
I don't know. I'm gonna sit back and wait and see.
Oh, you're doing this lawyer ball crap. Right, I forgot.
Yeah, man. New season, new me.
Like, my safe answer is always, like, whatever I don't care for, or, like, I just didn't, like, mesh well with, or whatever.
20s.
It's to dump it under Devil's Crush, but that felt too low after what we said, so I feel like anywhere in the 20s I think I would be okay with.
Yeah, I kind of had this one somewhere in the Tokyo Jungle, Beautiful Joe, Metal Gear Solid 2, Guitar Man range. Which, for the listeners not looking at the list, it's between 18 and 21.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, I could see it being, like, between Mario Kart and Guitar Man.
I'm good with that.
So it would be the new 22.
I don't hate that. Matt, what do you think?
I was higher than you, Joe. I was in that next bracket above Deadly Premonition, between probably somewhere in the, I'm not saying all the way up there, but somewhere between like Max Payne and Deadly Premonition. I was kind of in that bracket. But I don't hate it. I don't hate it right below Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty.
It's another weird thing. Like, we did this last week with the consoles, where it was like, well, I like this console better than that one, but that wasn't. I'm in the same thing where, like, I'd put this above Max Payne, but I probably wouldn't. But I wouldn't put it above, like, Parasite Eve. But we already have Max Payne above Parasite Eve. It's a weird, you know. All right, let's do this. Do we like it above? Let's go there. Do we like it above Max Payne?
No.
Do we like it above Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed?
No.
Burnout 3?
Probably not.
No.
Parasite Eve? Mark's got a head tilt. Matt says no. All right.
I do like the vibes of Parasite Eve more. Sorry.
Okay. Above Hypnospace Outlaw.
No, you can't put it above Chowder Man. You can't.
Above Deadly Premonition.
Yes.
You think above Deadly?
Deadly Premonition is something completely different. Its gameplay is terrible.
Yeah, fair.
But no, I like Deadly more, despite that.
All right, 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors.
In terms of time, I would put it above.
Yeah, but overall,
because Papers, Please is a digestible game.
Yeah,
and I do appreciate that a lot. That's to compare it to a visual novel, essentially.
I mean, you have to go on story beats here. I mean, yeah, Grant, you have to give it the time of day to see it all, but I actually like 9 hours, 9 person, 9 doors story. Like, I think it tells I think it's very good at what it does.
Yeah.
You have to remember that.
Yeah.
I'm good with it with 9 hours over it. How about Tokyo Jungle?
Yeah.
This is over Tokyo?
I dictate the first minute, so I'm above Tokyo.
Mark?
I could put it above Tokyo.
I could put it above Tokyo.
I think Papers, Please
I would get up for a drink.
It's easy to jump into.
It's what, Mark?
I was saying.
I just said Papers, Please is it's easy to jump into.
Easy. Okay, sorry.
There's no bullshit. It's just there you go.
Do we like it above Beautiful Joe? I'm good with it above Tokyo. I'm just curious, like, if we feel good about it up.
Yeah, I think
weirdly,
so.
yeah.
All right, if we like it above Beautiful and we like it above Tokyo, it's going above Tokyo.
Yeah. I don't feel good about it being above Gear or Metal Gear, but I'm fine with it being above Tokyo.
Yeah, that's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those weird bystanders with. Yeah. Okay. Well, we did it. We got one.
18.
Yeah, our new number 18. Above Tokyo Jungle, below 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. I like Papers, Please. I liked all the games this month. Spoiler alert. Which all of the games for this month have been revealed over on thefreecheese.com. You can check out our February write-up. Come back next week and talk about a Konami PlayStation 2. Let's just call it what it is, a tour de force. Lifeline. We'll be back next week.
You lied a couple sentences ago. You for sure lied a couple sentences ago.
Well, stay tuned.
We'll find out. We'll find out next week when we talk Lifeline. Until then, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. Bye.